Okay, dokie, people.
How we feeling?
How we feeling? No year today? Wow. Just
Some
you
years.
can't force it, you know.
You just can't force it.
Come natural.
It's always I'm a field type person, you know.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
How was your weekend, Badaki? It's a Monday for us. What did you get up to?
This weekend, chilled with family. I did a bunch of chores, cleaned the house, spent time with Brooklyn, and honestly, that's it really. Family, a lot of walks, a lot of early morning walks, and now just back at work as if all that never happened.
What happened? I mean, we're talking about it. You're living it out right now, right here.
Yeah. What about you? What you did this weekend?
Karina is my wife's name is Karina. She is like very. She's in. They call it uni here, by the way. Like you guys be like, "Oh, are you in college?" If you say, "Are you in college?" in Australia, they're like, "What are you talking about? High school? You're talking about middle school?" Because in Australia, they call college like middle school, high school. It's like, yeah, I go to I don't know, Sydney College. And you're like, yo, I thought you were 13. Yeah, I'm in middle school. I'm in high school.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
So that's the difference here. They call it university here or uni. Anyway, she's in uni and final exams for this trimester or whatever it is in like 2 weeks. So most of her time is just being consumed by that. But hung out with some family a little bit, played some new COD with you and some of the boys. New COD's pretty fun.
That's all about that Call of Duty, isn't it, boys? Huh?
Rebirth Island.
You play
is
Call
back,
of Duty, put in the chat.
and it's
I'm
very
addicted.
vibrant. But yeah, not a lot of news like there has been for the last couple weeks as of recent. It's starting to settle in. We're starting to get into the NFL draft. It's very, very soon. Hey, can we get a live stream scheduled for the redraft channel so we can start talking about that?
1,000%. I was actually making a thumbnail for that yesterday. I want to make it look cool, so I'm spending a lot of time on that mug.
Love it.
But yes, I will have that up probably throughout this week. So you guys remember, we do go live for the NFL draft on our redraft channel.
Yep.
If you're here watching this now or later, yeah, the redraft channel is where you can see us reacting live to the NFL draft. And the Commanders and the New York Giants have top 6 picks, so you're going to see our reactions early.
Yep.
Oh boy, I'm scared.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and find out. What's up, Casey? Welcome in. Welcome in. He says, my team makes a show. I'm prepared for the roast. Don't hold back. Yeah, we'll just go in order, so we'll see here. He says, but also remember, all of Delta is watching. Yes. What's up, WG? Welcome in. Stephen Day, welcome in. The Roll, JSC. Chase says, what up? Steven says, Delta League, how y'all doing? It'll be cool to see how other leagues are doing when the rookie draft, I guess, happens.
Yeah, I mean that's the I think the closest rookie draft is, well, not the Delta League, but if I'm not mistaken, the Alpha League is the one. Isn't Chase in that?
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Maybe he's in Chase and the Alpha.
Steven's
and
in
the
Delta and Chase is in Alpha.
Yeah.
I didn't see Kyler playing COD. I don't really follow many COD players, but you do. I mean, did you watch Kyler playing COD?
No, I didn't really care for it. I do watch streamers, but I don't watch Kyler Murray.
Yeah. What's up, Theo? Way too early to answer this question, man. We have no idea where these guys are going to go. I don't think Keon's a first-round pick, so probably round 10 onwards. Benson, round 8. I don't know. I mean, I can't really give you a good answer to that right now. But welcome in, guys. We appreciate you. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday night where you are. Do us a favor. Hit that like button to show some love. We got a like goal of 50 likes on these startups. So do us a favor and hit that like button to show some love. We are reviewing people's Dynasty teams today. And if you're out there and you want your Dynasty team to be reviewed, it's very, very simple. I'll let you guys know. It's two steps. I'll put a direct link in the chat to sign up. Number 1, use a Motherflocker. Use the code LAND. Number 2, become a Motherflocker member on the Flock Fantasy website. I would suggest doing instant access because that will make your team eligible for review straight away. But there's a direct link in the chat if you like. And once you do sign up, go to the top right, hit account, link your Discord, And then you should see all of our premium Discord channels, including the roster submissions tab here, where Larry is the first team that we are reviewing today.
Yeah.
You want to read out his context for us?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Start it there. 10-team SuperFlex. I'm assuming tight end start 10. He makes a couple of trades here. But I'm gonna go to the bottom. It says took over as an orphan beginning of last season and went full rebuild. So with that context there, let's have a look at these trades if you would like. Traded 2 first-round picks for Jamar Chase mid-season. I wonder where those first picks are now in 2024, maybe. Traded Rice, Watson, 25 first, 224 seconds for Justin Jefferson, Amari Cooper, and Waller in the third beginning of the offseason. That one's interesting. I mean, getting Waller there probably sucks, but also having Justin Jefferson there is pretty big. You traded Devon Achane for Brian Robinson in the 109. Yeah, I mean, you would hope to have, Devon knowing what he is now and his value.
The 109, though, I mean, that could be whoever the Bills' new starting wide receiver 1 is. So definitely, that's intriguing to me, depending on what the 109 ends up looking at.
And then you have 4 picks in the top 10 in the rookie drafts, and then 2 third-round picks. So not too much context of where he wants to rebuild or kind of go in a different direction here. But let's have a look. Once again, it's a 10-team start 10.
He said actually he went full rebuild. He said that at the end of there.
Oh, sorry. I guess so he went full rebuild. You're right. All right. Let's look at it.
Anita Max win.
99 here. Looks like it's a pretty even league.
For the most part.
Least for the most part, I would say the first 5 teams feel pretty even. And then it kind of just drops down there. But at the quarterback position...
Just so we're on the same page, 10-team start 10, SuperFlex.
Yeah.
And it does look like there is a tight end premium. Start 10 would be 2 quarterback, 2 running back. I'm just playing this out in my head. 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 2, 4, 6, 7, 3 flex, I'm guessing. If Larry's with us in the chat, let us know if that's right. But that's what I would be guessing at this moment.
So was that 2 wide receivers and 3 flex? So 5 wide receivers?
You can start 5, yeah.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
Guess.
So is that 10? 2, 4, 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, 9, 10. Okay, sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, quarterback position: Anthony Richardson, Jordan Love, Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph. The quarterback position is fine here. I think getting that QB3, I think we always like to emphasize, especially with Anthony Richardson going down, Kenny Pickett no longer, or his history of going down in his rookie year. Having that QB3 as insurance could be really, really important in this league. And maybe you do get that at the 101, or potentially you go Marvin Harrison Jr. But, if you're watching this, we'll definitely kind of break it down of what you could potentially be doing here at the quarterback position. I would say it is a good quarterback room, just looking for that QB3. Running backs: James Cook, Ramondre Stevenson, Brian Robinson, Big O Roscoe there, Damian Pierce, and the list kind of goes on. 2 good running backs, or decent running backs. I would say 1 good running back and 1 decent running back are Ramondre Stevenson and Brian Robinson. I feel a lot more confident in Brian Robinson, even when Austin Eckler is not more confident, but I feel just as confident as I was before with Brian Robinson now that Austin Eckler is there. So
I would say I'm a little bit concerned about Brian Robinson, but I think he's a good value in the community right now.
Yeah.
But when I look at your running back room, I do think it makes sense, the trade that you made between Cook, Stevenson, Brian Robinson. I think you have enough there along with your picks to feel good about that room right now. But
yeah,
there is potential that you did trade away a superstar running back for the next 3, 4, 5 years. We just don't know what Achane's next 3 or 4 years look like, but I feel very good about it. But it makes sense with the overall value. You tiered down and you got, a first round pick, so it makes sense.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. At the wide receiver position, you have the 1-2 punch, or I guess 2-3 punch, depending on how people see it. Top 3 wide receivers in Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Amari Cooper, and then it kind of falls down from there. There's a lot of people we can talk about and talk up. I'm a big Darnell Mooney guy and Jacoby Myers guy coming into the season. These are some undervalued, overlooked type of players that I believe can step into a really good opportunity here. So yeah, we can talk about these guys, but these aren't your foundational pieces. These are your fill-in type of guys. These are guys that you plug and play because somebody got injured, or you plug and play because maybe they had a 2-week span of getting, 5 to 6 targets, and you're saying maybe I can start them. That's Jacoby Myers and Darnell Mooney, in my opinion, coming onto this team. You did trade away Rashee Rice and Christian Watson to get Justin Jefferson and Amari Cooper, so that does feel good looking at this, knowing your draft picks here. You have the 107, the 109, and the 110. Brian Robinson Jr., Adonai Mitchell, and Xavier Worthy. Your whole team is completely different. Alam McConkey, that could be completely different, right? I mean, it just all depends on where the NFL draft goes, which we'll definitely talk about as we get to the whiteboard here. So your wide receiver room, I think, will come together, but has good pieces that we can definitely talk up. I mean, we could even slightly say Cortland Sutton can be a favor depending on if they don't go wide receiver. Yeah. Right. I don't think the Broncos have a second-round pick. They have a first-round pick and been talking to getting a quarterback. Cortland Sutton feels pretty safe to be the number 1 wide receiver unless they hit on a 3rd round or 4th round wide receiver in this draft. So a lot of things in ways that we can talk up and narratives that we can go. And at the tight end position, Michael Mayer, Isaiah Likely, and then Darren Waller. R.I.P. So good tight end room here with Michael Mayer, I would say.
Very good team. And your picks are going to complement your weaknesses pretty easily. I do notice that we don't have any 2025 first. I would love to know where that 2025 first went.
I think that first went in the Jefferson chase.
That is the Jefferson trade.
Yeah, so he Rice, Watson, 25 first, and 224 seconds. He gives his 24 seconds to get Justin Jefferson, Amari Cooper, and Waller.
Let's assume that that's the trade then, yeah. But, I mean, look, you getting Justin Jefferson, I think you, honestly, in a way, like, before the year, that would have been a huge discount. Even now, I think you and I would do that trade. Rice, Watson, a first and 2 seconds. I'd probably do that just for Justin Jefferson before the year. In fact, it would have cost more for Jefferson before the year, so I don't think that's a bad trade at all. But yeah, clearly there are some opportunities to improve our team through the draft. We have a good amount of draft capital and important picks, not just volume, but important game-changing type picks here. The 101, the 107, 109, 110, a couple thirds. It says you also have 2 4th-round picks here as well, which we'll talk about. But at the 101, I've been saying this pretty consistently. This is Caleb Williams for me. Even in a scenario like this where you have 2 quarterbacks that you really love, would you disagree with this? I mean, we won't spend too much time on the 101, but to me, it's still Caleb Williams. I still think you're going best value in the draft, and that's Caleb with what he's about to step into.
Yeah, I'm happy to take Caleb Williams, and I'm on the fence with both of these guys. I think it just really depends where Marlon Harrison Jr. lands. Caleb Williams feels locked to the Bears. If Marlon Harrison Jr. goes to the Chargers, I think there could be a conversation. But if he goes to the Patriots, it's like, okay, that means they didn't go quarterback in the first round there.
Sure.
But yes, Caleb Williams, I'm happy to take out the 101 here with this team.
We can talk about trading back to the 102 or the 103 in a second.
That's what I was thinking.
That would look like. But, I'm just thinking if we're in a SuperFlex startup, this is the community's rankings, right? You got Anthony Richardson, Jordan Love, and the 101, and these are all names that are ranked around your Bijan Robinsons, your Jamar Chases, your Justin Herberts, Amon-Ra's. So, in my head, even if you wanted at some point in the offseason or during the season to move, let's say you tear down from an A-Rich, right? Or, you move off of Caleb. I still believe that Caleb Williams would be the most valuable piece that you could move to improve your roster as a whole, even if you went for one of those stud wide receivers. But we'll go Caleb, and then the great news is this is tight end premium, so if it's a Dunze or if it's Bowers at the 107, we are completely happy with that. We have Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer is a great tight end too right now. That could develop into, he could be this year's Trey McBride. I've been saying that often. And then at the 109, you have your option between Brian Thomas Jr., this is also like your McConkey range, your Mitchell range, you're worthy. I would throw in Franklin there too. I mean, what happens if Franklin? I don't think it's going to happen. What happens if he goes to like the Chargers in round 2? People going to be out on him now? You know, like there's certain landing spots at the beginning of round 2 that I think people could be back in on Franklin. I still like him as a player. And then that's all the same names at the 110, but you could also start to throw in, you know, your Benson, your Brooks. If those guys, let's say one of them goes to the Cowboys in round 2, the Raiders in round 2, you know, for example, those guys could be names that you could look at. It would be really nice to add a really exciting running back to this running back room that is good enough, but certainly doesn't have a superstar at this point, right?
Yeah.
And then with the rest of these picks, like we always mention, you go best player available. Take a shot on a guy that you love in the 4th round. Anything you would do differently there before we look at other options?
No, I think you hit the nail right on the head there for all those picks. So I'm right on board with them. I am interested in maybe potentially tearing back from the 101.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about it.
And seeing what that looks like there. I was just looking at a couple different teams. I'm looking for like a two for one, right? Maybe you have the 101, so that's someone either really trading up to get Marlon Harrison Jr. or Caleb Williams. Lakewood 49ers. How would you feel about the 104 and the 105 for the 101? Maybe you can throw something else in there, but that kind of feels like you're locking up.
What team?
Lakewood 49ers, okay. Yeah. And he has the quarterbacks, but the wide receivers do kind of fall, so he can get Marlon Harrison Jr. That could potentially be, if you do get the 104, a Malik Neighbors, and then another quarterback or Brock Bowers. Maybe does that feel too far down for you, or is that a sweet spot? Yeah. I
think you and I would agree that maybe Team 3 would be looking to get to the 102 instead of the 101. They probably wouldn't care with their quarterback room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe they could justify going out at the 101 and getting Marvin Harrison Jr., but they're probably thinking, I can get a Neighbors, I get a couple quarterbacks here, I can trade these picks.
Sure.
But your question was, is that too far back? No. I love that idea. Like, if you can get that done, you and I think both would agree. Absolutely, we feel very good about that. You're probably getting a Neighbors and a Daniels or a May there, so I think we would both, really like that. And we keep saying how much we love the top 5 this year. So I love that idea.
Yep.
What's another one we got?
I would definitely agree there.
102 feels ideal, or the 103.
That's what I was going to say. 102 does feel ideal. He has Justin Herbert, doesn't have a good quarterback too.
There you go.
So can I get the 102 and then a wide receiver?
Yeah.
Can I get? Is it crazy to say London, DJ Moore, Chris Olave within that trade?
I would even throw Addison in there. Like I would even move back just for Addison personally.
Yeah, like 2 for 1s. Remember, and I think in this scenario at the 101, you want 2 for 1s, not even swaps. Who's valued at the 101 right now? I guess superstar. I guess like Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes, but even then, like those guys go for multiple.
It's kind of like your Herbert Chase range, your Hurts, Bijan, A-Rich.
So. I think that's a good trade moving back to the 102. Once again, 2 for 1 type of plays. Let's see who has the 103.
I would also just throw in another idea where you can get their 25 first and you can send away your 25 second or 26 if you don't have yours, right? Like some sort of move again where you're doing a pick swap. I'd be open to that as well. Because again, with this team, we'd be happy with Marvin or Caleb. I just think we're trying to extract the most value out of that pick.
Yeah, I agree.
But
103 feels kind of unrealistic here. CJ Stroud, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins. He's probably going to stick and pick. This is probably the guy that's going to take Malik Neighbors. Actually,
maybe. But do you think he'd be like with Cousins and Goff? Yeah, I guess he'd feel fine.
He'll feel fine to take Malik Neighbors there if he's okay with. Kurt has a 4-year deal. Jared Goff, we expect him to get a contract extension.
What about? What about the 103 plus the 108, and I'll give you both of my thirds.
Sure.
What would you think about that?
I'm okay with where am I? I'm just moving up for the quarterback. Why move up for the quarterback or wide receiver if I'm going to get them at the 101 anyway? Do you get what I'm saying?
Sorry, from what perspective are you speaking from? Like this person's team or the other owner?
On this person's team.
for
But
this person.
he only has the 103. Does
Yeah.
he have the 108? Oh,
Well,
he does have the 108.
There,
Excuse me. Sorry, I
but
didn't realize.
you got to keep in mind there are people like you who do think Marvin, and you're not alone. Marvin is like the prize. He's the 101 unquestioned. You're not that you feel that way, but like him and Neighbors are in different tiers, right? There are people like you out there who feel that way, where Neighbors and Marvin are in different tiers, and they might pay to get that guy that they feel is the belle of the ball, if you will. So it's worth trying.
Sure.
But there's probably people out there like me who Neighbors or Marvin, I'm fine with whatever we get there. But yeah, so those are your options really to trade back from the 101. I don't think I'd trade back from the 107.
No, 107 feels like a sweet spot there.
But I think with the 109 or the 110, I would be willing to like make one of these like get a proven player.
Proven asset, yeah. I mean,
You know, like for example, like a Saquon Barkley for this team could make a lot of sense. You know, and instead of having to worry about will Benson or Brooks hit or will they get good draft capital, you can go out and get a Saquon Barkley, which is the RB3 on Team 3. So maybe he would be interested in that. You know, ideally you send the 110. Probably not going to be in range for like one of those top tier ones. It's funny, I was looking at Achane, but I remember you just traded him away anyway.
yeah.
Would you do Jacobs for the 110, or do you just not feel comfortable enough with Jacobs there?
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable with Jacobs there.
Okay.
If
I
I'm gonna
would
get a
I would
running
be
back,
willing
I would
to
just hold off.
I would be willing to talk at least about Josh Jacobs there. I'm not sure 100% I would do
Right.
it, but there's some deal out there where I receive more than just Josh Jacobs and I can send away the 110. You know, is it a pick swap? Is it Jacobs and your second next year for the 110 and my third next year? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
But also,
I get that.
how about a wide receiver? I think I would definitely be willing to look at wide receiver here too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, can we get at the 109 here? What's the 109? Was it like DJ Moore range?
I think DJ Moore range. Let's look at the Flock Fantasy community here. 109 puts us in the range, and this is your guys' rankings, not ours, okay? But in the range of like a Metcalf, Higgins, Zay, Reed, Rice, Pickens.
Yeah.
But that's different to keep trade cut, obviously. But
It just depends on the value. Whichever, like I think at the 109, the way DJ Moore is valued,
yeah, I think it's possible.
that's possible. Other names that like I don't know how you feel.
Yeah.
But I feel like Nico Collins is somebody that I would want now with the Texans only giving Diggs that 1 year type deal.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Because I actually think if Nico plays a big part, again, he's going to take a team-friendly deal to play with CJ Stroud unless he gets crazy money somewhere else, which I personally doubt.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could see it. But I mean, what was Nico going for before that trade? I feel like it was like the 108. You know, like, so I feel like I'm down to get Nico, but I feel like we're paying more than what he currently costs. But I could
well, the 109?
I could also be like unaware of what his current, like, is he going for the 110 now? What's his range? I wonder what Keep Trade Cut would say.
Let's have a look on Keep Trade Cut. Let's see.
Because I feel like I'm down to add him. I just wonder how far he's wide receiver 20 right now.
Well, at the moment, 108 is an even deal.
Okay.
But people kind of panic.
Well, he hasn't really moved at all then.
Wide receiver. I mean, he was wide receiver 14 on March 28th. That was 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Essentially. Now he's wide receiver 20.
Okay, well, we can add Nico there for sure.
I guess it just depends on how much he's valued. Like, if someone's saying, okay, yeah, I want the 107, 106 for Nico, I'll be like, okay, obviously you don't have that, but you wouldn't pay that.
Yeah. I would definitely, like, throw Pittman in there as well.
Would you try and get Rashee Rice back?
I wouldn't mind a Rashee Rice, but we're going to have to structure it a little bit differently because he, from what I've seen, it depends on the person. But the 110, it shouldn't cost that much anymore. But like, can I get Rice plus something? Who has Rice again? I can't remember.
Rice is Team 9, President Jefferson, which he needs to change his name because you don't got just Jefferson no more, brother.
Yeah, you should have changed your name by now, bro.
He's probably hating that trade or thinking about that trade now. Wish he had Justin Jefferson over Rashee Rice because of that.
Yeah, like,
Because of
could
that
you get
incident.
Rashee Rice in the 204? I'll give you the 110 and the, like, I would start like the 310, for example.
Yeah, the third
What
pick,
would Keep Trade Cut say about this, I wonder?
Where's Rice right now on Keep Trade Cut? Let's see.
Wide receiver 30, dude. It's crazy.
So the 110, you said?
He's one of my favorite buys right now.
110 is still too much, according to Keep Trade Cut.
Oh yeah, no, I don't doubt that. But we're also getting the 204, right, and sending the 310. So we're getting the 204, and we're sending away the 310. Does that get us in the ballpark? It gets us in the conversation. You might have to make it the 301. Would you do that? Rice in the 204. I send away the 110 and the 301. I'd do that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Chase, I'm interested to know what. I guess you could put like your thoughts, but I mean, I haven't heard anything else. I haven't really, to be honest, been researching it, wanting to know if it gotten worse and how it gotten worse.
Yeah, I'm my research,
sure you've been following it.
I have been following it. I haven't seen it gotten worse. Obviously the big news over the weekend, which was misreported, was that he had 10. Was it 10.8?
I mean,
what was it, grams? They said.
Honestly, I'm pretty sure that's not a lot, but it depends on the state, and it depends on how each individual state has their certain amount of limits. So if you have less than a certain amount, then that could be charged as a felony or something. But I mean, how many players have been caught with weed specifically as a player and hasn't been suspended?
Yes. So the original report was that he had 10.8 ounces, which is very different to 10.8 grams. 10.8 grams is not. It's a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. I just keep following Drew Davenport, and every report that comes out, some of it is misrepresented. He looks through it, and he's very, very good at what he does. But yeah, I don't know. There's still nothing that has come up that has concerned me so far. Casey says Texas has some super strict street racing laws, minimum 2 years of convicted of racing, and causes minor accident plus leaving the scene. And I totally hear you. But how many times have we seen... look, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, it's right or wrong. Clearly what he did was wrong. But think about all the domestic violence that's happened. Think about all of, these examples in the past that we've seen of people racing. I understand it's Texas, a different situation, but there's a reason people pay these successful lawyers who always win cases. So I just don't think it's going to be a problem at the end of the day. Like, I do think he'll be suspended a couple games, but I don't think it'll be a situation where... I just think he's a great buy low right now, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Rashee Rice, to clarify, having 10.8 grams of marijuana is a Class B misdemeanor. I said it was a lowest level demeanor earlier, and he wanted to make a slight correction. So he talks through this. I would definitely suggest, if you guys aren't following Drew Davenport, to follow him. But still, in this deal, I don't see the risk that you're taking on. You're moving from the 110 to the 204.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a lot of different things, by the way, that needs to be discussed. Because Trenton says, I'm pretty sure I've seen stuff. He came out another vehicle. He wasn't in the Lambo. Like, all this is, we don't know yet, right? Like, who's going to claim that whose the weed was? Like, or whose weed was it? Who will take ownership of it, right? Like, all this stuff is not figured out yet, so we can't really say. But we're, based off what we know, we're deciding, is it worth the risk to make a move? Is it worth moving from the 110 to the 204 in your mind to pick up Rashee Rice? To me, absolutely it is. But everyone's going to have to determine their risk reward on that. But yeah. I'm pretty sure he's going to go to jail, by the way. But I don't think it's for like a long period of time. He'll probably go to jail during this offseason. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
I was going to say he's probably going to go to jail, but he will do everything in his power and his lawyer's power to try and get him to go to jail within the off-season time, so he's not missing time practice or actual games.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And we should just clarify, we don't want to make light of the situation, and we don't want to pretend like we know more than anyone else, because we don't. All we're saying is, based off the risk reward right now, are you willing to take this risk? And for Badaki and I right now, the answer is yes, we are willing to take on that risk, because the price is so affordable right now.
Yeah. And I think we're just going based off of our naiveness and how we understand the NFL and how they've so far been punishing other players for worse crimes.
Yeah.
Or, crimes that have been, for worse crimes.
Well,
Anyways.
better or worse.
Yeah.
Or less worse or worse, right?
Exactly.
Drew
Less
Davenport's
worse or
someone
worse.
that you got to you got to check into. Yeah, Hollywood Brown doesn't worry me. But anyway, I think we could ramble on this for a long time.
But yes, I do like that.
People in the chat are like looking at. Look, at the end of the day, let's disagree. Everyone has a different opinion. None of us are lawyers unless you're watching this and you're a lawyer, right? And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, are you willing to take the risk of what it would take to buy him? And you and I would both agree we'd be willing to pivot from the 110 to the 204 to add Rashee Rice, right?
Yeah, completely.
Okay.
Completely.
We're not going to pretend that we know exactly what's going on or that we have the answers, right?
Yeah.
But let's keep getting into it for sure.
I'm trying to think of
any other players for the
pivots
109,
here.
110 that you'd be willing to try?
That list is pretty long, right? Like, I'm not a big Jackson Smith and Jigba, but I know Jackson Smith and Jigba is within that range. Jordan Addison is also in that range. Like we said, Zay Flowers is in that range. So I think all those guys
in a tight end premium,
play.
I would even throw in Kincaid. Kincaid, Pitts, because then at the 107, if Odunze's there, or if Odunze's there, you feel good about it, So that's definitely an option for you there as well. The roll says 80 Mitchell over Rashee Rice. Let me ask you the question: Rashee Rice and Jonathan Brooks, Rashee Rice and who's at the 204? That's the question we should be asking. Xavier Worthy if he falls. Rashee Rice and Roman Wilson if he goes in the second round. Ladd McConkey if he falls, right? That's the question we should be asking rather than just Rashee Rice versus the 110. Because that's not his cost. That's not his price right now. But we talked about pivoting. I think our favorite deal is to move back from the 101 for one of these offers.
Yeah, 100%. The 2-for-1 deals feel really intriguing there.
Is there any players on this team that you would like to pivot off of just the players?
The only player that I would say, which I actually don't think he should because of whether you stick and pick at the 101 or do a 2-for-1, is Anthony Richardson.
He was the only one that stood out to me.
Yeah, I don't think there is a point to do that or tear down unless the 2-for-1 is really, like, I want a 2-for-1 and it's really exciting to receive a wide receiver and then a lower tier quarterback.
That gives you the flexibility to stay at the 1 and take Caleb too.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't necessarily think that I would be pushing to sell Anthony Richardson with this specific team. I have been saying based off of his value, I would want to, but for at the moment, since you have the 101, I don't think there's a reason to try and sell Anthony Richardson, unless you can somehow tier up or pivot to somebody you feel more comfortable in or more comfortable with.
Average to Kyler for sure would let's start naming the quarterbacks. Let's start there.
Yeah.
The quarterbacks that we'd be willing to move back to. Let me just add my rankings here. But for me, those names start at Herbert.
Yes, Herbert, Kyler.
I would normally say Love, but you already have Love.
Yeah, I would even say I'm happy to send. Well, I'm actually I think about Joe Burrow as well.
Yeah, I agree.
I wonder if I would say you could throw your second in there or something, or send both of those thirds. I don't know. People love the rushing upside with Anthony Richardson and rather have that over Joe Burrow. I would rather have Joe Burrow.
Would you pivot even further down to like a Dak or Purdy if you could get plus, if that makes sense?
I would do Dak. I would do Dak, Purdy, and Golf. That's what I would do. Those three. I would add there.
So
But like that,
let's
wide
look at
receiver
some of
needs to
those
be nice.
options. I think this is probably the last thing we'll look at with this team. Everything else, it feels like a very well-positioned team. But let's look at some of those options. Kyler is the first one I'd like to explore, which is Team 3. They have Kyler Murray. Yeah, this is tough because no one's going to give you Kyler and a top 5 pick for A-Rich, I don't think. But what about Kyle Pitts? Would you go, because he has George Kittle as well. I know you're not a Kyle Pitts guy. I obviously am. Would you go Kyle Pitts plus Kyler for A-Rich? Because I would definitely do that. I wonder what
Yeah,
Cut would say about
yeah,
this.
I'll be okay with it. I would be okay with it.
And you might have to add like your 301 there. That gets you in the ballpark.
Yeah, I'll be okay with it. I'm not like jumping to it, but like getting Kyler, I think is really exciting in this trade, and getting some more tight end depth that you technically kind of need, since you have Michael Mayer, Darren Waller, Isaiah Likely is still number 2 until if Mark Andrews goes down again, that feels really comfortable. So like, yeah, in this scenario, I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, you know what, Herbert, in our community, he's not below A-Rich. What about on Keep Trade Cuts community? Probably not. So fair trade. We can't really pivot from Herbert actually. But like, let's just say if the Herbert owner is feeling nervous, we would take I would even just take like the 210. Is that, I don't know. I mean, is that not enough? Because I have Herbert ahead of A-Rich in my rankings anyway.
I think you're gonna have the smallest window to buy Justin Herbert for probably a good 12 hours after the first round in the NFL draft, if they don't take a wide receiver.
What if you did something like this, like yeah, I know.
You gotta put all you gotta hit up every Justin Herbert owner and say they didn't draft a wide receiver in the first. Let me get Justin on the way.
Well, if you can do a pick swap, that's obviously ideal, but I don't think in most leagues people are going to be willing to do that. But let's talk about pivoting down to like a Dak Prescott, for example, because clearly, or I would even pivot to a Lamar or a Trevor. Again, if I can get A-Rich, and I'll send you the what do I have? The 301. Can you give me T-Law plus your 106? Is that crazy to ask? In some communities, Trevor Lawrence is way low.
Yeah, it depends on how that guy views Trevor Lawrence. Like, would I do this?
According to Keep Trade Cut,
do this trade?
That's possible.
Like, me personally, I wouldn't do that trade.
You would rather have A-Rich?
I would rather have, well, the 106 is actually intriguing. So I would also, I'm saying, actually, I wouldn't know if I would do that trade. Anthony Richardson for Trevor Lawrence and the 106. Who's the 106? Brian Thomas, Brock Bowers,
Ramadunze?
Yeah, I'll do that trade actually.
Yeah, I'm happily on the T-Law side by a good margin. We talked about Dak. Who has Dak?
Dak, team 4. There's a bunch of seconds.
Yeah, I would need something a little bit more significant. Like, I would do something like A-Rich. I want to get Dak in a combo of, like, Gibbs or something. And we'll have to figure out how we could do that. But he has Gibbs. He also has Bijan and Brees. So, surely he's willing to, like...
Gosh, he has the top 3 running backs in the league right now.
So, if we had to give up A-Rich and the 301, would that even start a conversation? You might have to go higher than that. But Dak and Gibbs, that might be unrealistic.
That's where I could potentially throw a 24-second or 25-second.
Yeah, you would add a 25-second here?
Yeah, instead of the 301. Or maybe you could just add the 301 if you wanted to.
Yeah, maybe your starting point could be the... Nah, look, you got to come hard for Gibbs right now. So we'll say 25-second there. I think that's something I would be willing to do. And then you get Trevor. You still get Caleb Williams, by the way, but you added
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs. And you could exchange Gibbs for Brees or Bijan if he has a preference between those names.
Agreed. Agreed there. I think that's good. I think
What
it's
about
actually
what about Purdy and Kyron? Or Purdy and Saquon? Is that not enough?
what's Purdy? What's Purdy at? Purdy and Saquon.
What would Keep Trade Cut say about this? So that's in the ballpark of getting a conversation started. I think you could send the 310 as well. What would you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that as well.
Those are some
Especially the way
options.
the team is built. Yeah.
But overall, clearly you're in a very good spot. You're ranked #1 in your league right now. Your name is Anita Max Win.
Anita Max Win.
You know what? Honestly, though, I don't think I'm pivot. Now that I'm thinking about this, and it's a 10-man. I'm not gonna pivot to Purdy. Yeah, I wouldn't pivot to Purdy. Those other deals I'm completely fine with in a 10-man. But yeah, look, anything else you want to talk about with this team before we move on? In a great spot. Their draft picks are very good.
I think the first two scenarios are probably the best one there, and the ones getting the 2-for-1 for the 101 or sticking and picking. I think you're gonna have a decent team regardless of those two.
You should be competing this year. Absolutely, because you don't have your 25s first anyway. So you absolutely should be competing this year. Great team. Let us know if you have any questions in your fantasy hotline, and I'm gonna send this over to you in your hotline, so you can always have this little message if you want to save it yourself. That is sent, but we appreciate you big time, man. But we will move on to the next team. And the next team on today's stream is
Myballzachertz 6969. Shout out to that.
We appreciate you, man. One of these guys in our follower leagues that we talk with often. We appreciate you. Thanks for the support. Yeah. But if anyone out there is watching and you want your Dynasty team reviewed, it's very simple. 2 steps. All right. I'll put a direct link in the chat for you to sign up. But all you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member, and you have to use a code LAND when you sign up. I would advise you to click the instant access button when you sign up. That way your team is instantly eligible for review. Go to account. At the top right, link your Discord, and then you will see all of our premium Discord channels, including the roster submissions tab here. But this is a fun one because this is a team that we helped him review 2 years ago.
Yes.
So why don't we read that context and let's get into it.
Yeah. All right. Here it says, so this league roster was reviewed 2 years ago by Yacht, and I took into consideration the advice and made some significant moves with the roster. The screenshot provided was the original team and then also the moves I made after the review was made. The other shots are the current rosters and it's standing now 2 years later. Looking to see what moves can be made now as it feels my roster is very well balanced, but want to make sure I'm ready for a title run. So SuperFlex start 10. 2 running backs, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, or start 4 wide receivers with defense and 5 taxi spots, 4 passing touchdowns and interception -2.
We'll look at his team later, but
yeah.
So this is what his team looked like 2 years ago. All right, he had Watson, Henry, Jacobs, Hopkins, Evan, Ertz, Cooper, Carr, and was very much a win now team 2 years ago when we reviewed it. But there was clearly some players that were about to fall off. I mean, Landry was still
Shout out to Ronald Jones.
Yeah, Ronald Jones was much better. Michael Carter was, I think, the starter at that time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so as well.
D-Hop was still in Arizona doing his thing. Derek Carr was still in Vegas. I think Amari Cooper was in Dallas at that time, too, by the way, because he has a white uniform on there when that screenshot was taken.
I think maybe is that the year he got traded over there? Maybe.
And then he's showing what his team looks like now. He mentioned he had some trades. I don't see the trades that he made, but this is what his team looked like. And why don't we have a look and see what it looks like now?
Yeah.
His team name in this league is... Well, we know he has Lamar Jackson, so let's look for Lamar Jackson. His team name is Team 5.
Okay.
Seraphim is a team name.
Seraphim for Team 5.
So now he's got a roster that looks like Lamar, Watson, Russell Wilson. His running backs are Brees, Jonathan Taylor, Jacobs. Wide receivers are Garrett, T. Higgins, JSN, Hollywood, Deontay, Christian Watson. He's got TJ Hawkinson and Mark Andrews at tight end. And he has a 106 this year and his first in 25 and 26. So definitely a better team today than it was when we reviewed it 2 years ago. We had Ertz, who was still an Eagle about to fall off. DeAndre Hopkins was still a Cardinal. Deshaun Watson was still a Texan, it looks like, at that moment. Amari Cooper was a Cowboy. Derek Carr. So now instead of Watson and Carr, we have Lamar and Deshaun Watson. Instead of Henry and Jacobs as our starting running backs, we've got Brees, JT, and Jacobs as our RB3. Instead of Hopkins, Evans, and Amari Cooper as our starting wide receivers, we've got Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, JSN, Hollywood Brown in the 106. And instead of Zach Ertz, we have TJ Hawkinson and Mark Andrews. So team's in a much, much better spot than it was a couple years ago.
Yeah, 100% here. And no, just looking at this team, I'm not necessarily sure what we can do. We can definitely get Mixie on the whiteboard here, but he only has the 106 as the one pick in this draft, and he does have his 25 first and 26 first, which is fine. But at the quarterback position, I think, yeah, look, Deshaun Watson is somebody that I believe is getting undervalued, overlooked. Now, do I believe he can be this top 5 guy that he was before? Probably not. But the weapons and the team around him are pretty successful. He has one of the best offensive line, a great defense. He probably doesn't have the best offensive line anymore. I know a lot of those guys got injured. But you have Amari Cooper, they got Jerry Jeudy. You know, there's some opportunity for him to be successful there, Deshaun Watson. But I know it's not the strongest quarterback, but you could potentially get a quarterback there at the 106 if you really wanted to really solidify that QB room. Is that a Drake May or Jaden Daniels if they fall, or a JJ McCarthy if the Vikings go and trade up for him? That can instantly change everything in this draft and potentially for your team if you wanted to go another quarterback there at the 106. And then obviously at the wide receiver position, you can start up to 4. So Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Hollywood Brown. That can also be Rome Odunze as well if you really wanted to. And that's Garrett Wilson, T, JSN, and then Rome Odunze or Hollywood Brown. But you also have Deontay Johnson, who Zach loves, and everyone thinks that he's going to be, this great value. Christian Watson also has some opportunity. We saw him stay healthy in that second half of this. Well, some glimpses and pockets of the season. Yeah. But there's some opportunity here for you to definitely compete. And let me just have a little glimpse of these team 1 and 2 here.
What I would do with this roster is I would try and get the best starting roster as possible and feel good about a couple bench pieces if needed. Because if we're looking at it here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's really a start 8 if we're looking at a starting lineup.
And you have the heavy hitters, though. I mean, 5, 6, the wide receiver is probably not the heavy hitters.
Sorry, they extended it since then to a start 9. But you can only start 4 wide receivers. So what I would be trying to do is let's just talk about trade ideas, okay? Because this is not going to be a typical review. We don't have a lot of draft capital to work with, but we can still improve the team. The names that I would be looking at: TJ Hawkinson. I've been saying this all offseason, even before the Kirk Cousins news. I would not be looking to trade a JT or a Brees in this league.
Yeah,
I would say
I wouldn't
Hollywood
either.
Brown as well. I would be willing to move. Is there any other that you would say on this team?
No, I just
We want to stay as top heavy as we can. And right now, our starting lineup is Lamar, Deshaun Watson, Brees, Jonathan Taylor, Wilson, Higgins, and then you would choose between the next guys, and you could also flex Josh Jacobs. So one of these wide receivers, maybe it's a Dunze, and then you got Hawkinson or Andrews. So one of Hawkinson or Andrews are movable. I think you would agree.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough with Hawkinson because he's not going to be ready for the first week. And when is he going to be ready? Because he doesn't have that depth if he were to move Andrews. I mean, yeah, you can lean on Chig for a little bit, but maybe he needs to get, maybe he needs to send TJ Hawkinson or Mark Andrews away and then whatever that trade looks like. Let's say you get a first round pick, but then can you throw in a Luke Musgrave? Can you throw in a Cole Kmet?
Which team was this? Sorry, say again.
I'm just saying in general.
Let's talk about it.
If he were to trade Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson is not going to be the starter week 1, so he needs to find a replacement within that time frame until TJ Hawkinson does come back.
Sure. Let's look at teams that are tight end needy. Let's start there. Team 6 makes a lot of sense. Cole Kmet is their tight end 1. They have no pick in the first round this year. I like the idea of like a Hawkinson Addison type of move, personally. And in a non-tight end premium, this might not be possible, but in a start 9, smaller, starting lineup, you might be able to get something like that done. I would also be willing to use Hawkinson to tier up to a Jalen Hurts here. That's going to take more than just Hawkinson, but what about Hawkinson plus Deshaun Watson? Will that even get us in the conversation? Will that get us in the door? Hurts didn't have the best year. He had a good year for fantasy, but as an actual quarterback in the NFL, people might start having some concerns. I'm not saying that's valid or that they should, but that at least starts a conversation. We might have to add, what else do we have here that we could play around with? We might have to add, would you add a Watson to get this deal done or a Hollywood?
Which, the Watson to Jalen Hurts? Or Hawkinson to Jalen Hurts?
Hawk, Watson, and Hollywood Brown for Hurts. Would you do that in this format?
Yeah, because I'm okay with Mark Andrews there. So yes, I would do that.
So I like that deal. That gives you Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. Wilson is your quarterback 3. Your starting lineup doesn't really change, by the way, outside of adding Hurts. Instead of Hollywood, which you weren't even sure if you were going to flex anyway, now you can flex Odunze, Deontay, Watson, and you still have one of the best tight ends in Dynasty. So that's the kind of deals I'm trying to pursue. What's another team that is tight end needy outside of Team 6? Well, how about Team 7? They're not a very good team. But what about a Hawk for a Tank Dell straight up?
Yeah, I like Tank Dell, I like DJ Moore. I like would you do the 108 straight up for TJ Hawkinson?
Yeah, I'd take the 108 there for sure.
The 108. So that all feels good. 108, Brian Thomas Jr. potentially. Any of these wide receivers.
Team 9 is in desperate need of a tight end. And they have no picks right now. When I say desperate, I mean desperate need. I wonder if you can get Jordan Love here. Hawk plus Deshaun Watson for Jordan Love. Would you do this? I think Love Watson is the truth. Love. I know not everyone agrees, but take out Hollywood there. I mean, I would do this.
Yeah, I'm down for
that. Is there another move on that team that makes sense? I mean, you're not going to get a Monra.
No, you're not going to get a Monra. I think once it gets too high, it's just very unrealistic.
Team 10 has Mike Gesicki as their starting tight end.
Yeah, but they don't have anyone.
Their team is awful, dude. But you know what I would do? I would totally be willing to send their 25 first. Or give me their 25 first. What's their team name? The Replacements?
They don't even have the 25 first.
They don't?
They have the 26 first.
Damn, you're right. Yeah, well, give me their 26 first. If that's possible. That's a starting point. If they say no, I don't blame them. Their team's awful. They probably should.
I would say the same thing. I would say the same thing for Team 12. Team 12 is probably the better team.
They don't have any first round pick.
They have the 25 first though.
That's not theirs, but I'd be willing to grab it from
All
them.
right. True.
But yeah, I mean, if we can get that 25 first too.
Who has these guys?
What's that team name that has that? C. Smith. Is he one of the better teams in the league though?
He's team 9, ranked team 9th.
Yeah. Right, this is the guy who doesn't have his tight end. So yeah, I'd absolutely be willing to do that. Or what about could we sneak our way into A-Rich here? I know often we talk about pivoting off of A-Rich, but in this format, I actually feel like we could go to an A-Rich. Hawk plus Watson, the same thing for A-Rich. Would you be willing to do that?
I'm just not sure anyone would do that personally, but like if that's possible, yeah, I'm down. I'll
probably
do that
probably the guy who has Jalen Hyatt as his wide receiver 2 and Greg Dulcich as his tight end 1 would be willing to talk. You know what I mean?
What yeah, 100%. He doesn't have draft capital either. Yeah, I'm okay with that as well.
Those are probably the main teams, unless there's one that you know that I missed.
Nah, those are the main teams there. And once again, excuse me, you've built so far for the past 2 years to get to this point. Now we're just trying to squeeze out the extra value that you could potentially have. Remember, start 4 wide receivers. You just want, I think, even having one more addition to this team at the wide receiver position specifically could instantly change it. That's Rome Odunze, or maybe trade the 106 for a top tier wide receiver. If you really wanted to, that can really change it as well. But other than that, I think you stick and pick. Your running back room depth is great. Your quarterback room depth is technically good as well, because you have Russell Wilson, and same thing at the tight end position. So I think this is on the right track.
Spot, man. Very good spot.
Yeah, you're on the right track.
I think another thing that you can look at doing, you don't have to, is you could look at tiering down, oddly enough, from Josh Jacobs. You don't have to do this. Actually, can you really tier down from Josh Jacobs at the moment? I don't know.
I'm not necessarily. I don't think so.
Like, could you get a? No, for this team, it's not worth doing. Not worth doing. Like, if you have an injury to a Brees or JT, you're gonna wish you had Josh Jacobs on this team. But yeah, I don't want to sell Higgins, JSN, or Wilson.
No.
I would be willing to sell Hollywood Brown. That's another. Like, is there any like individual players you'd be willing to sell? Hollywood Brown's one of those names for me.
On the team?
Yeah.
For me, it will be Jackson Smith. If I can get the one where he's getting range to at the 109, 108, I'll do that in a heartbeat. Okay. Because I just feel like I'm getting the wide receiver 1 on a team at that range, it feels like.
So you said the 108?
108, 109, yeah. Yeah, 108 to the 110. You know, Adonai Mitchell, Brian Thomas Jr., Lamb McConkey. You just feel like those guys can step into a role and have opportunity instantly, unlike what Jackson Smith and Jigba had in his first year, unfortunately, in his situation.
Yeah, I would hold Jason, but I get it. That's just two different perspectives. It's always good to bring them. But yeah, I would say those are the main ideas to improve this team. Is there anything else that comes to mind for you?
I would just say 106. I mean, can I get a Drake London? Can I get a... I don't know if you want to get a Chris Olave, but can I get a Chris Olave? Can I get one of those top tier wide receivers? Can I send AJ Brown? Or can I get AJ Brown? Can I send the 106 and... I don't know if you could do this, but the 106 and Hollywood Brown for AJ Brown. Or the 106 and Jackson Smith. I don't know, maybe that's too much for AJ Brown.
I don't think I would do it, just because I think the 106 is like the sweet spot, but I can understand if you're trying to go out and win it all, why it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, trying to tier up to that heavy hitter type of guy that we just feel confident in for the at the 106. Then, but
Yeah,
other than that, I think this is
there's
once again perfect
no
team.
no reason why this team shouldn't be competing this year. I think let's paint an ideal world. At the 106, you either go a Dunze or a McCarthy or whoever is that quarterback that's left out that goes first round. I think in an ideal world you trade Hawkinson. I want one of these Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love, A-Rich type of deals.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely ideal. Getting any first for Hollywood from any player would be great. So that's going to really round out your team if you end up with a Jackson Hurts, a Jackson Love, a Jackson Richardson, right? As your quarterbacks 1, and 2 here in your 12 team start 9. Running backs, you're primed for competing right now. I think JSN will take a next step. He'll be a good flex for you. But you got Jacobs, which you can flex. You've got Deontay Johnson, who I think is going to have a monster year. Hopefully you can extract the most value from Hawkinson. But I think this team is definitely primed to compete.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's a great team. You've done really good so far. Continue to grind out.
And as always, Myballzachertz, y'all, you know that you've got your fantasy
6969, by the way.
Yeah.
Ballzachertz 6969.
You got your fantasy hotline in case you ever want to use that. You know what's funny is why can I not remember your name? We always call you Myballzachertz, but I know I know your name is obviously different. That's so funny. Because I was trying to send him the hotline or the whiteboard. Yeah. Let me look in our database. I know I have your name somewhere written down here. Let's see here. Alan. Yes, Alan. That's right. Alan. Alan. Let me send this to you, Alan. So you've got this now. But we appreciate you, man. Ohio is asking what's going on, and I guess that's a perfect opportunity for us to tell people what's going on. If you want your Dynasty team reviewed by us, it's very simple. All you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. What's going on right now, Ohio, is that we are reviewing people's Dynasty teams. We're helping them make some decisions moving forward, how they can improve their team, what they should do with their draft capital. If anyone out there wants that experience for themselves, it's very simple. Become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND, okay? Not only do you get a team review on a live stream, you get everything else that you see here on your screen, our rookie report, our complete rankings. You get to be a part of our Dynasty trade show. You get unlimited access to all the articles, databases, and guides on the site from all creators. You unlock our entire Discord and unlimited access to the trade calculator as well. But shall we move on to the next team?
We do have one more team. Last team of the night here, 2 grade.
Mm-hmm. And that is Sisu0282. If you're in the chat, let us know, my friend. Let us know if you are, so we can have a chat with you back and forth and talk through your roster if you like. But let's go ahead and read that context for us.
Yeah, it says team name is built for 2025 here. Okay, so start 10 SuperFlex with no tight end premium. We have 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and 2 flex spots. So you can start up to 4 wide receivers, plus 1 SuperFlex. Probably just going for RBs in the draft because outside of Mixon, Kenneth Walker are expensive, and Kamara, no one in the league is trading for running backs, and that's really the only context that we do have.
Well, so he said start 10, so we got 2 quarterbacks because of the SuperFlex, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and he said 2 flex. Am I reading that right?
Flex. Yeah, so you can start up to 4. We can start up to 4 wide receivers here.
That would be 9 though. That's what I was thinking. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9.
I don't know. Maybe he got it confused, or maybe. Well, let's see. We can actually do starters only and see if we can count it. Right?
Yeah, this is what I'm getting from his team here, but
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so it's start 9.
Is it start 9? Okay.
Yeah, because if you look 2-star only, it tells you. So 2, 4, 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Yeah, so start 9.
Okay, start 9. And his team name?
Is built for 2025.
Built for 2025. He's ranked 3rd, a score of 85 out of 100. And you're right, like with starters only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I believe it is a start 9.
Yeah, start 9. Maybe it was a typo. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they have kickers in there somehow. We just don't know.
Start 9 is a smaller league. Well, it's not small. It's actually quite standard. But when you combine the fact that it's a 10-man start 9, I think Benaki and I are going to be looking to build the strongest starting lineup and have a couple flex pieces or depth pieces that we really, really like. But let's walk through it here. SuperFlex, start 9, no tight end premium.
Yeah. Jordan Love, 2 tags at the quarterback position there, and then it kind of falls off. Once again, SuperFlex. So good quarterback room. You just want that. I think with all those injuries last year that we saw, you want a 3rd quarterback for insurance. And that could be anyone. Derek Carr, Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, Will Levis, those type of guys, just in case. You want them just in case one of your guys goes down. We saw Tua miss some time in the past. So either, yeah, we just saw them go down in the past. So those 2 quarterbacks are good. Just wish you had that 3rd quarterback. But you don't have to push for that at the moment. Running backs, Breece Hall, Tajay, Brian Robinson, Tyler Algier, and the list kind of goes on down there.
That top 3, though, is pretty comfortable for me. He talks about only drafting running backs. I don't think we would advise drafting running backs at the 106, so we'll talk about that. But that's not a bad running back room there.
Well, he has I'm assuming at the 2nd round, like the 203, 206, 209, maybe trying to get a Benson, a Brooks, to solidify that running back room there. But I think it also depends on what the draft capital looks like. And if we have, like Zach said, at the 203, is that a Troy Franklin that goes to the Chargers? Is he going to be available at the 203? You probably might have to prioritize him over one of those running backs, maybe getting best player available, like we always say. But yes, I'm okay with that running back room here as well. Tajay, Brian Robinson, you have enough depth, and then whichever running back falls to you in the 2nd round, which we'll talk about in the whiteboard.
Yes.
Wide receivers, you can start up to 4 wide receivers. Keep that in mind. Justin Jefferson, Puka Nacua, Michael Pittman, Amari Cooper, and then you have Dontavion Wicks and Jacoby Myers with Rashid Shaheed and Brandon Cooks. So you have some decent fill-in pieces.
Yeah.
With Wicks, Myers, Shaheed, and Cooks. I think you need that heavy hitter 4th, which your top 4 are not bad. That 106 can really change around this team. Is that a Roma Dunze who goes to one of these top teams there, and then you have it's all set, right? Then you could potentially sell one of those guys to get a running back if you really wanted to, if you could. And then Kyle Pitts and then Logan Thomas here. So,
yeah.
It's not a bad team at all.
No, it's a good team.
No, it's a great team.
And when we consider your starting lineup, start 9, I think you're actually in a pretty decent spot. Brian Robinson or Tajay will start as your RB2. In a start 9, you're starting Love, Tua. At running back, Breece Hall, Tajay, or Brian. At wide receiver, Jefferson, Puka, Pittman, Cooper. And at tight end, Kyle Pitts. So that's a pretty strong starting lineup. That's definitely someone who is going to be competing this year. And we just need to focus on making the starting lineup a little bit better than what it is right now. In the 2nd round, maybe that's where we could take a shot on some running backs in this class. But at the 106, I think if we were to stick and pick, I think you and I would agree probably Roma Dunze.
Yeah. Roma Dunze, I think, is probably the best one. I think we have to put quarterback here as well.
Yeah.
JJ McCarthy, if he goes there, or if one of those 3 wide receivers somehow fall to the 106, that is something. I mean, we can even say Brock Bowers if you really wanted to, depending on his draft capital and where he lands. But yes, Roma Dunze, quarterback, Brock Bowers are your go-to guys at the 106 here. At the 203, what's that? The Bentons, the Brooks, the Xavier Worthies, potentially the Troy Franklins. the Roman Wilsons, any of those type of players that fall to the 203 are most likely.
Corum.
Yeah,
Those
all those
kind of
guys, 100%. And at the 206, same thing. Best player available. Maybe getting another wide receiver. Maybe that's Roman Wilson, Xavier Leggett. Like Zach said, any one of those guys. I was gonna put Corum or Wright potentially in that scenario, but still, you get what I'm saying. Best case scenario and best player available after the 203 onwards, however way you want to build your team. But I think I think this might be the best case scenario for him to stick and pick rather than trying to trade players away, because you have your heavy hitters in Justin Jefferson, Puka, Breece Hall, Jordan Love. Now I don't know if I would have put Tua in the heavy. I would put Tua in the heavy hitter consideration in this format. I think the only one you're missing is the running back, which could come in the second round.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't know that Tua is a fine starter, but in a 10-team start 9, I think I'd rather have a stronger quarterback too. But if
I just don't know how we can. Yeah, I just don't know how we can pivot from anyone on this team to tier up, because we don't have.
Well, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Pivot up at quarterback. Let's talk about some options there. I mean, I don't know how willing you would be, but if I can package Tua plus one of my seconds, what could I go out and get? Every league's going to be different, and I think it's important that we say this. We say it every single stream. We sound like a broken record. But the entire point of this stream is to give you guys as many avenues as possible, as many doors that you can open as possible in your leagues to get a trade done to improve your team. Trades aren't as easy as, hey, let me show you guys all the trades that are going to get accepted from day one. You send the offer, it's done. No, that's not the point of this stream. The point is to say, here are 20 options. Send out some offers, open some doors, have some counters in your league, but here are some starting options, and then you can see how you can improve your team from there, right? But if we were to look at Tua and a second, I wonder, excuse me, what we would be able to get according to the most widely used calculator in the industry, which we don't really use, but we use it as a reference point for you guys to take advantage of it. He has a 203, right?
Yeah, 203, correct.
So Tua and the 203, I wonder what that could get us there. Let's talk about some names that we would like to pivot up to.
The reason why I find this difficult, because, well, like, I guess let's talk about it, right? Like, how far up can we go in the way we're thinking? Dak Prescott, right?
I think you can easily get Dak Prescott, but I could be wrong. What does the calculator say here?
The reason why I'm saying,
easy.
like, is that well, I guess it is a big enough tier when you think of CeeDee Lamb and he finished QB3. So yeah, look, it makes sense. So I feel like it's just like a sidestep when it comes down to something like that, because I think Tua could be there, we just haven't seen it. But then we also think about like longevity. But like, yeah, so Tua in the third. What about Tua and Purdy? Like 2 for Purdy, I would do. 2 and the 203 for Purdy.
I'm not sure I would do that, just because I don't feel like I'm upgrading that much. But if I get like an A-Rich, and again, keep in mind, guys, the point of this isn't to tell you that all these trades are going to get accepted. It's to open a conversation. It's to start a door. You probably, if this concept of this trade was to actually be accepted, there would be like 6 counters from here, right? But this is like your starting point to get into that range. But A-Rich for sure. I think I would add a Justin Herbert into that, with how cheap he has been going in our community, at least what we have seen. I think, what about Kyler Murray? I would definitely do that for a Kyler Murray, if there's someone out there who's willing to do that. So again, not that all these are going to happen, but they're trades that you can send and see if the door opens. I mean, would you go from Tua to Dak if you only had to pay like the Tua and the 306, for example? Would you go to Dak? Because it's all about just starting a conversation and seeing what would happen. A lot of people would not do that trade. Some people
Yeah.
might.
I think there's a balance there, like I don't know, there's just a balance when it comes down to a team like this, and it's hard to just toss away Dak Prescott QB3 into where he finished he still finished top 10. So
Well, in Keep Trade Cut, which is the most widely used site we know for Dynasty, they are quarterback 16 and quarterback 17. Dak is 31 years old. People have been disrespecting him for multiple years, and that hasn't stopped this offseason.
yeah.
In our community rankings, I wonder what's the difference between them. Dak is quarterback 13, 2 is quarterback 14. So I don't think it would take much to get there in a lot of leagues. But
It shouldn't take much at all, to be honest.
it just depends on the league.
Yeah.
But definitely A-Rich, I would be willing to reach out and see what's possible. Yeah, I was thinking about Trevor Lawrence, but I don't, even as a Trevor Lawrence guy, yeah, honestly, I'd be willing to do that. I'd be willing to do Tua and the 306 for T-Law too, if that's possible, or at least start a conversation around that. I think those are really the main names, though. I would do that same trade for Purdy as well. And again, you send out all these offers. Let's say 90% of them are declined. One person counters, and now you start a conversation.
Sure.
So again, in a start 9, I'm trying to get that heavy hitter quarterback 2, or at least a quarterback 2 I feel a little bit better about long term.
Yeah. But I don't think you have anyone else that you can do that with. Running back room, I'm not doing that with Breece Hall. I want to keep him. Justin Jefferson and Puka, Michael Pittman, I'm not doing that. I want to keep those 3 guys in this format.
I personally would be interested at looking at pivoting up at running back. I don't know if you would disagree with me, but
Pivoting up in what way, though?
using a Brian Robinson plus a second again. What running back can I go out and get? You are one of those people who are worried about Josh Jacobs, and rightfully so. The contract looks a little interesting. Would you rather have Brian Robinson in a second or Josh Jacobs on this team?
Yeah, I'll have Josh Jacobs.
So that's super interesting to me. I don't want to go to a Rashad White type of name.
I'll do James, though.
James Cook you would do. It would have to be a really late second for me. I'd have to be that third.
Mm-hmm. I would do that. Yeah, I'll do that.
And that's that guy's RB3 on his team, by the way. Maybe he's willing to at least start a conversation around it.
Yeah.
I would also do that for Kenneth Walker too. Brian Robinson in a second for Ken Walker. I know we're concerned, but in this league, I'd be willing to do it. Would you?
Yeah. I know he said makes Ken Walker expensive. And Kamara, no one in the league is trading running backs. No one in the league is trading running backs.
Okay.
By the way, I wanted to reread that.
What
context.
about a Derrick Henry for this team, though? I mean, I know no one's trading him, but we have to at least send an offer. I mean, would you, in this team, start 9? We feel like he can compete, right? We agree there.
Yep.
Would you send the 206 as a starting point for Derrick Henry?
Yeah, in a competing team, yeah. I think that is a good starting point. Then you have Breece Hall, Derrick Henry.
So let's play out a world here, okay? Where
I think it all makes sense. Yeah.
Let's play out a world. Let's say you end up getting Kyler. Let's say you end up getting Derrick Henry, and you get Rome Odunze at quarterback. We use the 203 and the 206, but we still have the 209, and at the 209 you ended up with Blake Corum, right? So your starting roster would look a little bit different, and I think it would look a little bit better. Jordan Love, Kyler Murray in that world, right? Again, we can't tell you exactly what deals are going to happen. At running back, you no longer, well, you keep those 3 that you have, but you have Breece Hall and Derrick Henry starting for you. At wide receiver, you got Jefferson, Nakua Pittman, and you've got Rome Odunze. Amari Cooper is your wide receiver 5 at that point. And you've got Kyle Pitts still at tight end. In a start 9, this team is ready to compete. It's only a couple moves away from competing, in my opinion. Yeah. The only other thing that you could probably look at is a very cheap QB3. If this all were to work out and you are competing this year, look at a very, very cheap QB3. I'm talking bottom of the barrel starter. like your Daniel Jones of the world, Derek Carr's of the world.
Yeah.
If Sam Darnold is a starter, Aaron Rodgers,
100%.
Matt Stafford, that kind of road.
Yeah, agreed.
What have I not looked at that you think we should look at, Badaki?
No, I think that these are the moves that I think is fine. I personally think best case scenario is sticking and picking here.
Sure.
And letting the draft come to you. Because, like you said, best case scenario, Rome Duzzi at the 106. The 203 is Benton or Brooks, and you just go best player available at the 206. So you get another wide receiver, and you get your running back, and you're chilling. You're honestly chilling. And then, I don't know, maybe Bo Nix goes in the second round of this draft. Maybe he falls to the 206. I don't know. Right? Like, I think securing that QB3 is pretty important in this league, however way that looks. Sending the 306 for a Derek Carr, right? Yeah. Just get that third quarterback on your team just to feel safe for this year, because if Tua does go down and miss time, which we've seen, it feels like your season is going to be done because you're not going to have another quarterback to start, unfortunately.
Yeah. Casey says, instead of pivoting up at quarterback, team really needs some depth. I think I want the strongest starting quarterbacks as possible in a 10-man start 9. And like Badaki said, who's that cheap quarterback 3 that you can pick up?
He has the depth, though, at the wide receiver position.
He's talking about quarterback, though. Quarterback 3 is what he was saying, which we agree.
Yeah.
We want to improve our quarterback 3. But in a 10-man league, some of those quarterback 3s got to be cheap, man.
100%.
Some of those quarterback 3s got to be cheap. So,
yeah, I agree.
But, I think there's a very clear pathway to this team to compete year 1. I'm definitely competing right now.
Yeah. No, 1,000% you're competing.
And there's no clear name that I want to pivot off of, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think there's a pit. I think if you can get those deals done, like you said, open the door for those conversations for those Tua trades, sure. But I'm not forcing it. If someone says, "Well, I'll do Tua and you're 106 to get another to cheer for the other quarterback," no. I'm just gonna chill. I'm just gonna chill with Tua, and then draft the best player available at the 106. So keep that in mind. Do not force these trades.
Yeah.
Try and get the best value possible, knowing that you're gonna be tearing up. If there was a 12-man league, maybe that's a different conversation. But this is 10-man start 9.
Yeah.
So having these heavy hitters, foundational type pieces starting week in and week out is key for a team like this.
Yeah, I agree. Again, starting points, not finishing lines for these trades that we're suggesting, but definitely you're competing right now. There's no reason not to compete. I like that you have your future first-round picks. I'm glad you kept those. But yeah, I think this team's in a great spot.
Agreed.
Thanks for the love. Thanks for the support. This is one of the first streams we've done since January, where we started doing these team reviews, where there hasn't been a single person whose team we've reviewed has been on the live stream.
Yeah,
Typically, every stream we've had the person that we were reviewing in the stream with us, and we've been able to chat with them. So hopefully everyone, still likes the reviews, and they can obviously hit us up in their fantasy hotline. I'm gonna make sure and send this before I forget to Sisu. That way he's got that available to him. But we appreciate y'all. Again, if you're watching this and you want your team reviewed, it's very simple. All you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. Put a direct link in the chat for you there. Feel free to DM us if you have any questions. We appreciate you. We'll be live tomorrow night, so we'll see you then. All love.
Love.